Yes. And so there's several steps that you should take, and we will go through those with you on the show
you
today.
get the tops where the cork is attached to the plastic top. And it
boom,
breaks.
Breaks, and then a piece of cork falls in. Same story. Yep, same story. So we have a whole bunch of good things to talk about today. Oh, and by the way, just in case you were wondering, because one of my pet peeves is when you go to a sporting event, the catering companies, how they jack up the prices for stuff. So in case you were wondering about beer at the World Series, I will admit I don't remember exactly what the beer prices were at Minute Maid this baseball season. I was at a couple of games. I just remember they were really high. But at Dodger Stadium during the World Series, it was really ridiculous. A domestic beer at Game 6 was going for $16. $16.
That is obvious.
That's for a Budweiser
gouging.
or a Miller or whatever. You know?
That is just ridiculously obvious price gouging.
Premium beer, oddly enough, was $15.50. It was 50 cents less if you wanted like a Corona or what's considered a quote unquote premium beer, and then a craft beer $17.50. Now, if you were really fancy and you wanted to turn any of those beers into a michelada and add lime and clam and tomato juice and spices and hot sauce, you had to
that's
add
what beer needs.
Yeah, you had to add $6. I'm not a fan of the michelada, but a craft beer michelada would be $23.50 for one drink.
Can I have a Founders Michelada, please?
A wicked weed michelada. Oh my God, that's wrong on so many levels. Yeah. So it has certainly been quite a week. Ian, did you smoke anything interesting this week?
I did. I did research yesterday on an Illusion Ultra.
Oh, I love their cigars.
Option 4.
I
love Illusions. I've never had a bad one. And they, just the build quality, the construction is always impeccable. And this was a gorgeous little dark brown, oily box press. It was 4 3/4 by 48 was the size. Pre-light sniff was leather, sweet coffee, spice, mocha. I clipped it. I didn't have my punch with me. I usually default punch, but I clipped it. It clipped perfectly. The pre-light draw was effortless. Mocha, almond, leather, some dark fruit kind of notes in it. I lit it up. It had this really tangy spice to it and a nutty flavor, like right off the bat with some leather and white pepper. The first third of this cigar was a full flavor, like right off the bat. Nice big full flavor, mocha, chocolate, spice, lots of spice. It was spicier than I usually
I was going to say, you don't always go for the spice.
Yeah, but this was complex, and it was interesting, and it was fun, so I stuck with it. Big, silky smoke, like the kind when you puff, you just get this big, giant mouthful of smoke.
Love that.
The burn was perfect. The ash lasted until the cigar was halfway down.
Wow.
And then it finally dropped off, but it actually was on there. I have a picture of it.
Did you manage to keep it off of you?
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Actually,
Good
yes. I was actually smoking kind of like leaning forward because I knew it was going to happen at some point, but I was curious to see how long it was going to go. Big solid ash on it. The whole second third, it got some bitter chocolate notes, some mocha, more nutty, and fruit flavors were starting to show up. Like dark fruit flavors like plum
and cherry, that type of thing.
Yeah, plum and what's the other one I was thinking of? Like passion fruit kind of stuff. Anyway, and some pepper. It was still peppery and spicy at that point in time. The last third of this, the ash dropped about halfway. I wrote down here because that was the next entry I put on here. The burn was perfect. Like it was a perfect around the entire way. Tangy spice came up. It built up a little bit. Had more pepper, coffee, almond. I even put plum down. Very full flavor. I smoked it till it was just about gone. It's about a $10 cigar for the size that I got. Price versus quality index.
Yes.
5.5, I think.
5.5. There you
get
go.
Exactly what you're paying for. You get a great complex cigar.
Well, it's you're expecting something really good, and at that price, you should be able to expect something really good. I agree totally. Well, I had a very interesting cigar this week. I had the Alec Bradley American Classic Blend Churchill. So I'll tell you about that coming up in the next segment. Plus, we're going to be reviewing some very interesting things, doing some very interesting tasting today. Independence Brewing Company out of Austin has their Oklahoma Suks beer. Yes. I'm a UT guy, so I can get along with that. Plus the Rogue Chocolate Stout from Newport, Rhode Island, and No Labels off-label Nightmare on First Street Imperial Pumpkin Ale. That's all coming up. Plus Kirk and Sweeney's 23-year-old Dominican rum. We'll taste it all coming up on Smokin Toastin.
Did it not go up at first?
Yeah, did not go up at first. You've got, under your login, apparently there are 3 different pages.
Yeah.
So you've got Iconic Guitars, you've got yours, and then you've got...
There it is. How do I share?
Smokin
Yeah,
Toastin.
Smokin Toastin. So it was going out on the wrong page.
Oh.
Okay, so let's...
Yeah, it was on Iconic Guitars.
Ah, gotcha.
I haven't even developed that page. Interesting.
Well, it
Well,
just, yeah, it
explain
came up
why.
when
It
it
was
was
just
first
the
one.
settings was on.
I started that page, and then another company started up in California, oddly enough, called Iconic Guitars. I'm dead serious.
Yeah. Are they a catering company? Do they
It's something about
do they-
chocolate
do
and
chocolate and strawberries?
chocolate
For
and
the record, we're live on Facebook. There, I said it.
So if I say F those guys, it's
Well, I think you did.
say it with a Boston accent. It's cuter that way.
F those guys.
Takes some of the sting out of it, I think.
Yes. It's like watching Ray Donovan, man. The Boston accents on that show are spot on, and they're so bad on most stuff that I see that tries to do them. But boy, do they!
I think I'm just going to go.
Boy, do they have them on Ray Donovan. They're fantastic.
All right,
so.
I am shared out.
All right, Facebook Live, what's up?
Hi, Facebook
We're,
Live.
we're so happy
How's
that
everybody?
you're live.
Which one are we on? We're on this one. Hi.
Hi.
All of them, right?
I can
You got
see
all of
everything.
them on there?
Just wave in every direction.
Yeah, you'll get it. We'll get you.
Facebook Live, what up? Did you hear about the Astros?
I have to show Facebook Live this because this is funny.
That is funny.
I'm sorry, what are we doing?
Wait, they gotta switch to you for the. There you go. That is funny.
That's funny.
Funny is funny.
Oh,
Speaking of funny, Progressive Insurance just needs to give up. They keep trying to be funny in their commercials, and they're just not.
Do they have the triangle solo one? Because that one's
No,
funny.
that's Geico. See,
Okay,
Geico.
that one's funny.
Geico doesn't bat 1,000, but boy, they are really, really good in terms of funny. And,
Were they the same ones that had the spy who's in the middle of the action scene and his mom calls?
no,
that was a funny one,
That
too.
was a funny one. I agree. I like that. Have you seen the new Geico ad where they're playing whatever the Pictionary or whatever that game is, and it's it's the sloth. I'll tell you about it later. Oh, are we up?
no.
Oh.
Yeah, you're ready to roll. Whenever
They're playing Pictionary, and one team has a sloth drawing on the board. So he's drawing this straight line. They're guessing a pencil, a walking stick, and it's something like a tandem bicycle or something.
Right.
Is the clue, and the whole thing is a sloth playing Pictionary. That's surprising. What's not surprising is how much money Fred saved on Geico or whatever. They're funny. Like I actually laugh out loud at some of those. But Progressive, give up. Just go with here's our rates or something. Like you're not helping yourself. And Flow, please, that stopped being interesting like 30 years ago. Okay.
We need honest insurance.
Yes.
I figure if you're an advertiser and your pitch on television is people dancing around your product,
Yeah.
you're done. That's the end of the road.
That's jumping the shark.
Well, I mean, in other words, I know. We have people dance around.
Okay, we're Kirk and Sweeny Rum. We'll put that in the middle of the room, and then we'll all dance around it.
Wait, isn't that a Kahlua commercial?
I think it may be.
It's several.
Yeah. Yeah, it's their last resort when
They
they
should
don't
just
know what
be
to
like,
do.
Our insurance sucks less.
When they don't know what to do, they. All right, yeah. Southwest also has pretty funny advertising, but some companies just need to give up.
Okay.
And by the way, for the record, nationwide, they're not on your side. That's a slogan. Turns out, yeah.
Turns out.
All right, segment 2. We ready?
They're on their side.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are rolling audio and ready when you are. So let's just roll. We'll start this.
Welcome back to Smokin Toastin. This program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It is
a program that's brought to you by the fine, fine people who prepare such tasty dishes and have such an awesome bar at B&B Butchers and Restaurant on Washington Ave in Houston. And soon to come to the shops at Clear Fork Shopping Center in Fort Worth. And
I can't wait till that road
must,
trip.
We must go on the road. Yes, that's going to be awesome. Speaking of things coming up on the show, we mentioned that we have committed to, and hopefully this will be sometime before the end of the year, doing round 2 of the light beer blind taste test. Because what happened after we did the first round, it was a lot of fun. Although the beer wasn't as good as we usually enjoy on the show, it was a fun show to do. And as soon as we started to do that, as soon as we were done doing that, people kept chiming in on social media and email and stuff saying, hey, why didn't you do this one? So we've been collecting light beers, and we want to do a second round, all with beers that we did not try in round 1.
That's right. And if you have any in particular, hit us up on Facebook.
Let us know. Particularly if there's one that you think is good. Because what I found really interesting is some of the ones that I would have thought would be really good didn't do that well.
Some of them didn't even rate hardly.
And some of them that I expected to not be that good really did pretty well. I'm looking at you, Michelob Ultra.
Oddly enough,
go back and listen to that show if you think I'm nuts. But but it was a blind taste test, so we were not influenced by the label, as it were.
No, and by the end of it, it was a drunk taste test.
Yes. So I also was thinking, Ian, we should do a show about, and maybe you and I put a list together of our favorites and maybe sample some of them. The gateway beers, the beers that, like, when you were first moving from your sort of mainstream beers to craft, like, what were the beers that you transitioned, and what ones would you still drink today, even though you may have found something that's more pure craft that you enjoy? So I thought that would be a fun and interesting show, and plus I just like going back and drinking some of those beers again.
And I revisit one of those on a semi-regular basis because, for some reason, bowling alleys always have Ziegenbach.
Yes.
Cheap in a pitcher.
I don't know why that is, but yes, you're
$7 for a pitcher.
Let's go bowling.
I mean, I drink Ziegenbach for $7 for a pitcher.
Sure.
Also, there's a bar here in town that has a steak night on Monday nights, St. Dane's.
Yeah.
And they have $7 pitchers of Ziegenbach.
You gotta love
so
it.
actually, I have Ziegenbach once in a while.
I like a good Ziegenbach. As long as it's cold, I like it cold. Yep. Like it cold. Well, I mentioned the cigar that I was going to talk about, the Alec Bradley American Classic Blend Churchill. And I have been for a while a big fan of Alec Bradley cigars. Really love the Tempest. The Tempest line's really nice. One of my favorites. This cigar was made in Nicaragua using a Connecticut seed Honduran wrapper and Nicaraguan binder and fillers. It starts out with kind of basic tobacco aromas on the pre-light. It doesn't give up too much on the pre-light, but once you light it up, it becomes much more flavorful. Did run into some burn problems with this one a couple inches in, and I actually took a picture of it, which I'll post on Facebook. It was just burning faster on one side. You know how it'll do that? Like one side burns slow, maybe like a third of the cigar. It's not really a canoe. It's just like maybe 2/3 of the cigar seemed to burn at a normal pace,
right.
And then you got that flap of one side. So I was a little bummed about that, but it was easy enough to correct.
That's an easy one to tend.
And keep going. Notes of coffee, wood, some nuttiness, and kind of a creamy, mellower finish. The cigar was a little mellower than I was expecting, although I will say it had a very, sort of paler Connecticut wrapper, so that didn't necessarily surprise me. But I'd call it mild to medium-bodied. I kept waiting for the flavor complexity to blossom in it. It was a touch more complex in the final third, but not quite as complex as I would have liked in order to be able to rave about it. The cigar didn't blow me away, but it was decent. Now, here's the good news. It's a $5 cigar.
Oh, nice.
And this was a nice big cigar, too. It wasn't some, really small one, but the sort of more normal size is 10. You say $5 cigar. So I'm going to assume maybe the burn issues were just with the stick or maybe the breeze, because I was outside, and they were correctable. So at $5, I'm going to give it a 5.5.
Nice.
Because it was a very decent stick for $5. If it were a $7 cigar, I might give it a 4.5. Does that make sense?
Right.
But at that price, be kind of hard pressed to find a $5 cigar I would
And that,
enjoy
that
more.
price
you
to
know?
quality index is 0 to 10.
Right.
And 5 is right in the middle. That means you get exactly what you pay for. If
That's
it's above
exactly.
5, you're getting a better cigar than you paid for. If it's below 5, you're not quite getting what you paid
So
for.
what's interesting is we both gave our cigars the same rating this week.
Yeah.
But yours was a much better cigar than mine was.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
But it was also twice the price.
But I got what I paid for.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
exactly.
Now,
So-
Alec Bradley had that Max line. I think they still have
I
it.
like the Max
And they're
cigar.
good
Yeah,
cigars,
they are
and I
really
don't
good.
think they're very pricey either.
No, in fact, to be honest with you, most Alec Bradleys are a little
Yeah.
less than what you might expect. They don't seem to go the, we'll crank this up to $23 so you know you're having a real premium here, sort of tactics. They're really good about being reasonably priced overall, and they do. They've had several cigars land in that Cigar Aficionado top 25 of the year at the end of the year for the past several years. So,
Well, I got turned on to the Max series because they have a size
nice
it's
and
like
big.
a 70
Yes.
ring gauge or something like that. What I like to refer to as a cigar of intimidation.
that totally works. That totally works. Bust that baby out, and women and children go running for the exits.
What is going on here?
Speaking, by the way, of pricey things, because we were talking about pricier cigars, Samuel Adams is releasing a new beer.
This I read about.
And it's, first of all, it's going to be a $200 beer. It's $199. It's the Utopias line, and it has just come out, actually. It was a late October release. They release a batch every 2 years, and this beer, I just thought of you immediately, Ian. It's 28% ABV. 28%. That would definitely be last in our tasting order. Like we would definitely taste the other stuff. So you talk about a palate wrecker. Wow. It's a perfect holiday gift for the beer snob in your life, but it does carry a $199 price tag. By the way, it is illegal in 12 states.
That's hilarious.
That's true,
too.
because of the ABV
Right?
content. Yeah.
The Utopias.
Yeah.
By the way, we just got a shout out from Glenfiddich Dave. And I
what's
just want
up?
to say, hey, we're coming to see you.
Yes,
next
yes,
week.
That should be fun.
That's
fun.
going to be a blast.
He's got an event going on at Reserve 101
Reserve 101.
downtown Houston, right?
And if you
Yep.
haven't seen their wall of liquor, their wall of spirits is unbelievable.
I just want to.
You will have a spiritual moment.
I just want to mention to Glenfiddich Dave, we're really hoping to have you on the show again soon, and we want you to bring that Glenfiddich that was aged in the IPA cask.
Yeah. there you go.
That I got to try that at the Houston Whiskey Social event. Wow,
It was so good, right?
I was blown away by that.
you
Yeah,
just
was
give it away. I was going to
perfect.
pin them down at the event and see
Okay,
if I
well,
could get them.
you should still do that. So, Dave, nice to have you. Nice to have you watching on Facebook. That's absolutely awesome. So, Ian, I think it's time to do a little beer tasting, and I will confess the beers are still down here. So, you entertain the Facebook Live folks for a moment, maybe
I'll do what I can.
some hand puppetry, something like
do what I
that.
can.
And let me grab
this is
a beer
this
for
is
us.
my Hawaiian dance. All right. This from Independence Brewery.
Yes, in Austin.
Me and my wife actually went there just on a whim one day. We were visiting some friends in Austin, and she goes, "Let's go hit up a brewery." And she just does this. She gets a thing in her head.
You know why? Because your wife is awesome.
She is pretty awesome. She gets a thing in her head, and she's like, "Do you have a particular one?" I was like, "One that's open sounds good." And she found this. She
The
found this.
discriminating consumer.
Yeah, it turned into this fun event because she found this brewery, Independence, which is just south of Austin on 71. And it's in kind of like a warehouse, like a lot of breweries nowadays are, like a little warehouse park kind of area. But they had the whole back area open up. They had bands playing. They had all this stuff going on. And then on top of that, she on Facebook, ran into a cousin of hers that she hadn't seen in years. I think they were little girls when they saw each other last, and who happened to live in the area. And her, I can't remember if it was husband or boyfriend, came out and hung out with us all day. We had a great time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, fantastic.
Well, it is a great brewery. I've had a number of their beers, which I really
Yeah.
like. I might get this wrong, but isn't the Stash IPA, isn't that Independence?
I believe so.
I believe it is. That's a good
And they had
beer.
the Convict Hill
yes,
Stout.
which is also good. I've tried that.
Right.
So this beer, and for those of you, I want to apologize actually to those of you who are not from Texas, who are watching or listening to the show. You might not understand this, but this beer is clad in in Longhorn Orange, which
Yes.
is the University of Texas, and then the red, the sort of maroonish red, that's the Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma colors. And the beer is called Oklahoma Sucks because that is, if you are a Texas Longhorns fan, that's your big rivalry. A lot of people think it's Texas A&M. Texas A&M thinks it's Texas A&M. They're not correct. The big rivalry is actually Oklahoma. So this is basically a city kind of flipping off another city with this beer. So I thought we must try it.
I wonder if people from Oklahoma drink Oklahoma Sucks. No, actually, they don't because
I don't think
this has
so.
too much alcohol in it.
That's right. It
Oklahoma.
wouldn't be allowed in Oklahoma. So I wonder, though, if they have a Texas Sucks beer. And
That would be
if
funny.
they do,
That would be
in all
hilarious.
fairness, we will try that on the show, too.
Some kind of.
If we can get a hold of it. So I looked for information on this, and I really couldn't find a lot. So I'm not really even sure what kind of beer this is. It doesn't really say on the can whether it's a lager or an ale.
Well, we find out in just a second.
It's got a little hoppiness to it. Are you guys partaking today, Adam? We've got both Bobby and Adam on the wheels of steel today, so
They're back there
appreciate that.
being
So-
twice as awesome.
So I don't know what to expect from this, Ian, in terms of what style of
I
beer.
think I saw the. We laughed about it because when we were at the brewery, we saw the packaging for Oklahoma Sucks
Mm-hmm.
and thought it was hilarious. But I don't think they had the beer at that time.
Well, I just took a sip, and we're almost out of time for this segment. But this is actually quite good. It's very refreshing. It's got a
very
little
good.
flavor to it.
Very good.
So we'll try to describe that better when we come back. Plus, I think it's going to be rum time when we come back. Some Kirk and Sweeny 23-year-old, which I have never tried, so I'm really psyched about it.
Launching the Winter Storm 21-year-old aged in ice
That's
wine.
aged in ice
cask.
wine, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. That's going to be a blast.
So, yeah, I had read about that. That's so cool. So cool. Well, I have to say, this is better than I really thought this was
I
going to
need
be
to
a
look up what
gimmicky
style
beer.
that is. It's
But
really
you know
good.
what? Independence is a good brewery, though. So I guess I shouldn't have expected it to be gimmicky. This is quite good.
Oh, he sent me the information on that.
Oh, on Winter Storm. Awesome.
Nice. Dave on top of it.
Glenfiddich Dave,
I like that
yes.
guy. He's fun. Also a DJ.
Yes, well,
Also a DJ and a good one.
you got to love DJs.
What was I looking at? Oh, Oklahoma Sucks. Let's get some.
You know what they call a
particulars
DJ that just broke up with his girlfriend, right? Homeless?
on that. Right. That's awesome.
No, it's working. It's working. Yeah.
Gosh, so much going on. We got so many stories because we haven't had much chance to cover stories lately because.
Yeah, I see they're
because of the
piling up
guests.
on
So-
here.
So I'm actually glad we don't have a guest today, so we can get some of these out there.
Okay, so this is American Amber,
It's an American Amber.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's delicious.
and which makes sense. It reminds me a bit of the amber that we had from.
We're,
gotcha, just asking,
the
okay.
Revolver.
From not from Revolver, from New Republic, their Damn It gem.
Yeah.
It's like that with a little less of the hop profile,
Uh-huh.
and because it has that same like real nice maltiness to
Mm-hmm.
it that I dig. By the way, I'd like to give a shout out to New Republic. We had an Oktoberfest for a church that I
the
played
church
for.
thing? Yeah.
Right, and they donated 3 kegs of beer for our
Yo,
Oktoberfest.
New
which is-
Republic,
it's,
oh.
Yeah, it's an appreciation party for all the employees there that make it all happen.
That's
And-
awesome.
And yeah, it was a very good beer to be had.
I'm going to pass that to
Sounds
you
nice.
for the opening.
Right, and I want to talk for just a second about.
Oh
this
yeah,
beer.
well I want to come back and
So
do more
sweet.
about this beer, especially since you found some info. Will
Oh,
you
see, it's
guys
only
be
available
having rum?
during football season. That would be why I didn't.
Yes,
why we didn't
no?
taste it.
It's what'd you say again?
It's only available during football season.
Oh, the
So it's a
Oklahoma
football
Sucks.
seasonal.
A football season. That works for me.
Nice.
All right, this is already segment 3. Wow, where does the time?
It
go?
does fly by, doesn't it?
Yeah, time flies when you're drinking.
You know, back when I was just a young pup doing this show a year ago. Remember then?
How long the segment seemed.
Yes, younger Ian walks in. Hey, Cruz, beer.
Hey, you got your Evite to the Christmas party, right?
I don't remember, but I'll look for it.
Okay. Look for it. If you don't see it, let me know. I'll have.
Oh, I think it did. That came out a while back, right?
Yes.
And when is it?
It's the 1st of December at Table Upstairs.
Gotcha.
Look for one of these at a bar near you.
Yes, I need to start peppering the bars with our.
Yes. They're expensive enough that we can't just be all over the place with them. So I just use them judiciously. I try to find places where I think the right kind of potential listener might be, and leave a few of them around.
That's why we pepper them. That's a couple around. We don't Tony Sacheries.
Yeah.
If you live in the South, you'll understand.
You'll get that. Yes. Ready when you are, guys. Inverted. Is there any of that left?
Yeah.
Welcome back, my friends. It's Smokin and Toastin. This is the program that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're brought to you by B&B Butchers in Houston. They are on Washington Ave, and they have, by the way, the bar at B&B Butchers is so. You talk about a bar being curated,
yeah.
Not just and these are the kind of places that I love to go, where it isn't just, some places you go in, you look up and you go, yeah, they got everything. The usual stuff. You know what I mean? Right. The usual stuff. Or some places have everything and you're almost paralyzed by choice. What is wonderful about B&B is they have a very big selection, but if you have any trouble figuring out what you want, their bartenders are so knowledgeable. You can tell them what you like, and they can give you something new to try based on what you're telling them that you like. And I love that. That's my favorite way to explore what could be my next favorite whiskey or
What's interesting,
beer,
too, is that they have, it's not a huge selection. It's a good selection.
Yeah.
But it's limited in the number of bottles that they carry. And what's good about that, it's like walking into a bar that has their own old school jukebox. There's a character to what they have.
Right, to what's in there.
Yeah,
yes.
And sometimes just looking up and seeing what they have and going, okay, well, I haven't had that in a while, or maybe I'll try this. And like you said, if you have any trouble wondering about stuff you don't know, well, someone went through the trouble of curating that and making sure that it was on that list that stays at that bar. And there's a reason it's there, so it's probably going to be really good.
Absolutely. By the way, speaking of people who curate things, the world's largest cigar retailer is heading to Texas. Cigars International
really
is opening in Texas. Craig Reynolds, as president of CI, declined to comment, but said an announcement was imminent, and multiple sources have confirmed that the company is planning a location in the far north Dallas suburb of the Colony. So very interesting.
I guess that's a closer drive than Pennsylvania.
It definitely is. Now, before we open the rum, we should mention.
Oh yeah,
we should mention how good this beer is.
We talked about it between segments,
yes.
but not on the segment.
Yes, because this was, I thought, surprisingly good for something that might have been a little gimmicky, but then again, it's independent, so I shouldn't have expected it.
Well,
to
so
be
I looked at it. So I looked it up, and it's a 4.9%, so it's reasonably sessionable. It's an amber, American amber. It's good beer. I'm enjoying it much. But the reason that they didn't have it, we saw the packaging, but they didn't have it when I was at the brewery, is because it's only available during football season. It's a football seasonal.
A football seasonal. There you go. See, some of these things
seasonal.
just write themselves.
Not a winter seasonal.
Yeah,
not a summer seasonal. It's a football seasonal.
I like it. It's really delicious. It's very drinkable. Has a kind of a unique flavor profile. Yeah. Definitely comes off as an amber, but not doesn't necessarily remind me of every other amber that I've had. It's got its own.
No, it's got that nice.
Profile.
It's got that nice malt profile to it, and then a little bit of bitterness to finish it off, just enough to make it interesting.
Yeah, I'm down with it. I would buy more of this. So
okay, now
it's time.
Now?
Yes, it's time.
There was no sound.
Now see, not much sound.
It smells good though.
From the opening of the rum, but then again, here's my question, Ian: did any of that cork fall into the rum?
You know what? I managed to keep all of the cork out of the rum.
Okay, that's good. By the way, if you have a problem with cork falling in your whiskey, or I'm sure this would go for rum too, we have the steps that you should take if that happens to you. Because, I mean, let's face it, a bottle of whiskey can be expensive. You don't want to, if the cork comes apart on you or something when you're opening it, you don't want to have to like throw away that whole bottle. You want to be able to salvage it. So we'll tell you exactly how to do that, what to do if the cork falls in your whiskey coming up. In the meantime, though, Ian has poured some rum, and I am looking at it like I'm.
I might have poured one extra there.
Well, here we'll just pour that
only
into
3 of us
yours
trying,
and mine.
right?
So, Ian, this is. I've read a few things about this rum, and so my expectations are a bit high, based on what I read. But I've never tried this before. It's a Kirk and Sweeny 23-year, and I don't know which camera, but I'll show that to one camera.
Let me tell you everything I know about this rum in a nutshell.
If I hold it there, I completely block your head.
That's pretty
on
awesome.
that shot, don't I? Okay. Yeah.
I want to look like the desperate guy getting in the camera. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. So what were you going to say about this rum?
If you put it right there, it's like I'm talking into the top of it now.
That's right. Yeah, it's like it's your microphone.
I don't use a mic. I just use whiskey or rum.
So what were you going to say about the rum?
Oh, I was just going to say all the things that I know about it, I can fit into a nutshell, which is nothing. So we're going to start from scratch on this.
I can't believe you haven't done your research yet.
Well, I'm talking. That's the problem.
I was just trying to get you to talk so I could do the
right,
research.
Yeah, noted.
Wow, I am really impressed by my first taste.
Well,
really
the
impressed.
sugar cane smell right off of this is huge.
One of the reasons that people who are into rum over other spirits enjoy drinking it is that even though it can have the same sort of kick and warmth as a whiskey or tequila, it's got the sweetness of the sugar cane often makes it just a little more drinkable, I guess. It's a good gateway to brown spirits if you're just getting into them.
Yes.
And this has that sweetness in spades.
And I haven't tried mine because I'm just enjoying the smell, like the brown
good.
sugar, the sugar cane.
All right, well, I'm really interested to
molasses.
see what you. So take a sip of this because I'm really interested to see what you get out of this. The first thing that hits you is the sugar cane.
Wow.
But then you start to pull molasses and vanilla,
lots of
and
vanilla.
some kind of citrus that I'm not quite identifying. So
The heat on this does an interesting thing. It's right up front, then goes away right in the middle, and then comes back as like this slow warmth building up in the back. That's really interesting.
It's from Santiago and Caballeros in the Dominican Republic. It is a 23-year aged rum. And here's what it says on the bottle. It says, in the spirit of the rum-running schooner Kirk and Sweeny, this rum is well worth pursuing. Looking at its deep amber and copper color, iridescent copper color, it's clear this 23-year-old rum is uniquely charming. Its nose teases with toasty dried fruits and a hint of honey and toffee, while the taste delights through an evolving sensation of fruit, vanilla, and sherry. That, my friend, is delicious. That's the best rum I've had in a while.
It's making my mouth water.
It's the best
Like,
rum I've had in a
big
while.
time.
Wow. So I'll show this to camera again, and we'll have a picture of this up in the show notes. But, boy, this is a fantastic rum.
I really enjoy the mouthfeel on this, too. It's actually oilier looking than most rums and feeling as far as the mouthfeel goes, but I really enjoy how it coats the tongue, and the way it lingers is such a pleasant thing. Yeah, I mean that's a good rum.
That's really outstanding. Wow. So I would, we don't normally do price to quality on these type of things. It was a slightly more expensive rum, but I'm going to tell you that it's worth every penny that I paid for it. That is really. I don't.
Well, what's the price point on this?
I don't remember the exact price now. I want to tell you it's in the $60 range.
Okay, so
yeah. So because you can get a really good bottle of rum for $23 to $28, but not quite that good.
Right.
Yeah. So I might be a little off on the price, but that's what I think.
Somebody can prove me wrong on this, but I've found that every bottle of rum that I've had that's over $50 has been delicious rum.
Yes, I'm sure that's probably very likely. I have had some though that wasn't as good as this. I can tell you that.
Right.
So that's so rum. By the way, especially higher end ultra premium rum is totally on the rise. We've been reading about this for the last several months. It really is on the rise. In fact, there's a lot of disagreement in the spirits community over whether the next big thing is rum or gin.
You're right. Both of them are getting numbers that they haven't seen in ages.
And with that in mind, by the way, the guys at Room 101, the cigar company, are launching their own small batch gin.
Nice.
They have entered the spirits industry. They're known for their cigars, of course, and for some edgy jewelry, I guess. I haven't seen them.
Didn't know that.
Jewelry. They're based in Los Angeles, and they've now added a gin label to round out their portfolio of luxury items. And the release party for it took place at the Fox Cigar Bar in Gilbert, Arizona. And the Matt Booth, Room 101 guy, said, I wanted a craft spirit to accompany my line of products and further establish Room 101 as a lifestyle collection. So they're looking to be more than just a cigar company, but to be a lifestyle
Well, even
company.
from their cigars, though, their sense of style, like their packaging and everything, like their cigars are good. I haven't
Yes.
had a bad Room 101.
No, they're
As a matter
very
of fact,
good.
I think we reviewed a few on here. But their sense of style, like their packaging is always edgy and cool and you know, right there.
When asked why he chose gin, Matt Booth said, A, because I enjoy it, but B, because I feel like it's going to be the next boutique spirit. Gin caters to cocktail culture and sophisticated drinks. Everybody's doing bourbon right now, but to be frank, and I'm quoting Matt Booth here, bourbon is dead. With gin, the possibilities are infinite because of the botanical mix. By the way, somewhere Chris Hart's head just exploded. In fact, I'm sure he's commenting on Facebook right about now. But again, this is Matt Booth, and you know, it is true that gin is exploding. I don't think bourbon's dead, but gin is definitely on the rise, and they distill it with juniper and other botanicals. And he partnered with a small distillery in Michigan to put it all together. So I believe currently it's only available in Arizona, and they've only produced 1,200 bottles of it so far. But we're going to do our best to get our hands on some. And
They're starting
see.
to do interesting things with gin now. It's not just this gin or that gin. It's not
Right.
just botanical or not, juniper or not, you know, that kind of thing. They're starting to age it, and they're starting to do a bunch of different things with gin that hadn't really been done before.
Speaking of gin, didn't you get a chance to see our buddy Mattias Horseman from Hendrick's Gin
I
when he was in town
I
recently?
saw the most incredibly inefficient cucumber slicer known to man.
And it was awesome.
It was brilliant, yes. It was a blast. That guy is a blast.
He is. He's just one of those guys.
He fills that role like just his whole demeanor is all about it. He's so fun.
He's kind of like the Glenfiddich Dave of gin.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
We're working you, Dave, by the way, just in case. But it's really true. He's so much fun. And when we had him on with his cucumber slicer and drink maker, the world's most inefficient gin and tonic making machine, it was fun.
that.
And you
I'm
missed
so
that, I know. It was fun. But then I'm glad you got to see, though, his latest contraption.
Yeah, it was absolutely. I mean, you just need to look it up. The thing was unbelievable.
Well, we don't have any gin to sample on the show today, although we will be doing more in the very near future. We do, however, have some pretty amazing beers. And up next, we sampled the Rogue Chocolate Stout from Newport, Oregon. I have a feeling you're going to like
I like
this, my
Rogue.
friend. Impressive.
Frankly, Dead Guy Ale. Did you know if you go into Specs, you can buy it in a half-gallon jug?
Yes, I've seen that.
So when you say, I'm just going to have one beer,
I'm
honey.
going to have one beer.
Oh, yeah. And it tastes awesome that way, too. Like, better.
Really?
I
You
like
it better than just out of a
I
regular
like
12-ounce bottle?
Yeah, I like it out of 12-ounce bottles, but it just tastes better that way. It's more draft taste and more, just more.
I will tell you that Rogue Dead Guy Ale was one of the first sort of like really heavier beers that I learned to like. Like when I went through the gateway stuff and started drinking IPAs and stuff that had a little more hops to it, and then I tried Rogue Dead Guy, and at first I was like, well, I don't know, but then like I kind of came around on that, and that became a go-to favorite for me for a couple years. Love the Rogue.
Yeah,
Interesting comments?
I was just trying to look it up, but I keep doing other things with my phone, apparently. Like I hit it and it does stuff. I'm turning into that person.
Phones have a life of their own.
He says, Glenfiddich, 50-year-old, and Balvenie, 50-year-old at B&B Butchers. There you
Nice.
go.
The 50, really? Wow.
And so, and also a shout out to Amanda who tends bar there.
At B&B?
Yep.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right.
This is good rum. It really leaves my mouth watering.
It makes you want another drink, doesn't it?
It really leaves. I've never had a rum that just leaves my mouth.
They've done for rum what Doritos did for chips, which was you eat one and you go, I've just got to have one more.
Doritos.
I actually read somewhere, I don't know if there was any truth to it or if it was just one of those internet conspiracy theory things, but that there's actually something in the Doritos formula that is chemically designed to have you crave another one.
That does not surprise me.
Where's Alex Jones when you need him?
You know what though? I cannot eat
Look
Doritos.
on Snopes.
I will tell you one of the most devilish inventions though
Yeah.
is the Taco Bell fiery burrito or a fiery taco shell with
Yeah.
their tacos.
Have you seen?
Fiery Dorito taco shell. That's what I was.
Oh yeah. Have
those
you
are
seen?
so good.
Have you seen the commercials for the one that the whole taco shell is a fried egg?
I just saw a
Dude, I must have one of those. So there's two fast food things that I must have that I haven't tried. That's one, and the other is the
Well, that just means after
the chorizo burger from Whataburger. Oh my God,
that
I
just
must
means
have
after
that.
after 40 years of Taco Bell's 5 basic ingredients, they added one.
Yeah,
The egg. It's all new.
because it was tortillas, cheese, meat, vegetables, beans.
Yep.
That was it.
That's it. Now,
Now, egg.
egg.
Is this the fourth segment? My God.
Yes, of course.
It's a flying by.
Unfortunately, I have work that I have to do later today, or I would be having a great deal more of this rum right now.
I poured one for Adam. I don't think he got it.
Oh, I'm okay.
Oh,
Okay.
well,
Now, what are you going to do with
in
it?
that case,
I know. Yeah, take it. Calamity.
See what you've done.
yeah.
Hey,
Look what you've made us do.
I blame my stepson.
Also, this.
And, oh, God.
Making us drink all the beer and the rum.
I just want to say this. I love coming to work.
I've had worse
I've
jobs.
had worse jobs. You know, when I was a kid, I'm not making this up. When I was in high school, before I was old enough to get a job like sacking groceries or something, because you had to be 16 to get those jobs, I got a job irrigating peanuts in a peanut field. And this is all automated now. They have automatic stuff to do this, but this is a little before a lot of farmers could afford that stuff. And what you would do is you would go out. First shift was 6 in the morning. You did 3 shifts, a 6, a noon, and a 6 p. And you would go out into the peanut fields, and there was this huge main line of pipe, and from it would be like 5 lines of smaller pipe. The smaller pipe is about that big around, twice as long as my arm span, and had a sprinkler head on a post on the end. And you would turn the water off, disconnect them, move them 12 rows over, connect them again, and once you got the whole line connected, stretching all the way across the field, then you'd go back, turn the water on, and the sprinklers would start. So you would have to start stepping where it had already been watering for 6 hours, mud like up to your knees.
Oh, I bet.
And then you would lift the pipe up, and you'd walk 12 rows over. By the time you got to the 12th row, the ground was hard as a rock because it hadn't been irrigated. And then you'd pick it up and do that. So by the end, you smelled awful. Your feet hurt. Like it was like literally one of the most awful jobs ever. And I remember when I was doing it thinking, one day I'll have a job where I just get to drink.
Just show up to work and have beer. If for those of you who haven't put it together, Texas actually makes a lot of peanuts. There's a place in Texas
Yes.
called Plantersville.
Plantersville. There you go.
fun fact.
That's really true, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. All right, we're ready. Segment 4. Facebook Live, you get all of the important peanut information, and that's something that I hope you're
You
happy
never
about.
know what we're going to talk
You
about
never know.
because,
Let me grab that.
frankly, we never know what
don't-
we're going to talk about.
Wait,
We have
we
this.
don't-
We
we
have
don't
the
know-
sheet.
We don't know what we're talking about.
We have the sheet,
it
but
was just
sometimes
an
we don't even
additional-
have it face up.
So this one's not logical.
Okay.
Speak directly into the beer.
Ready.
Welcome back to Smokin Toastin, my friends. It is so nice to have you listening to the program, checking us out on Facebook Live. I think we had like our largest audience ever for Facebook Live on last week's show at the Boss Cat, which is just absolutely
Because we had
totally
personalities
awesome.
bigger than life.
Yes, we did.
Frank Krakenberg.
And you and I were there. So
Chris Nuante.
yeah, I mean, that was a fun show. If you haven't checked it out, you can watch the whole thing on the Facebook feed, or you can, of course, get it from. We should talk about that, by the way. The ways to get the show from our feed, which is available at SoundCloud, or you can pick it up through Apple Podcasts or Google Play, or you can check us out on YouTube. It usually takes about a day to get the show up on YouTube. Or
My YouTube
the Facebook Live is always available after the fact, and you can watch it.
The YouTube is actually in construction right now, so hopefully by the beginning of next week, I'll have it up and running. And when you search Smokin Toastin on YouTube, you will have these.
You will be
Smokin'
able to
Toastin
find this
YouTube.
nice and easy.
I didn't realize that there was a glitch in it until my brother told me he was having a hard time finding it, so we're working that out right now.
All right.
And as I am about as tech savvy as, well, insert whatever you want there.
You're
but
beer
I'm
savvy, though.
I'm
and that's
beer
important.
savvy. I am.
That's important. So that's coming, though.
Yes.
You got that.
Yes, we'll have that
in the
straightened
works.
up.
So let me tell you what happened this week. It was a very interesting week in beer, my friend, because one of my favorite breweries bought another one of my favorite breweries in Massachusetts, Harpoon Brewery, which, by the way,
Harpoon IPA.
they were
Good
my
stuff.
like gateway brewery all the way. They were where I really started to learn to enjoy good beer. And they're good people. I love those. I know a lot of the guys up there. I love them. They make great beer. They always have. They still do. They just bought Clown Shoes.
Nice.
And Clown Shoes is something I got introduced to, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, because I saw this brewery called Clown Shoes, and I just had to try it based on the name. And they are a brewery that does really kind of very left-of-center sort of beers. In
Yes.
fact, they're known more for they do have a few things available now in 12-ounce bottles or cans, but they're really known more for the growler, not the growlers, I'm sorry, the bombers.
The bomber, right.
And just making some really left-of-center, very odd and interesting beers. Their labels are very comic book cartoonish and always very interesting. The names are interesting. They were founded in 2009, and they've been brewing beer at the Ipswich Brewing Company since it was founded by Greg Berman. The Clown Shoes team, this is Dan Canary from Harpoon speaking, says they share our passion for brewing excellent beer, and their irreverent, boldly flavored takes on classics have earned them a loyal following. We see tremendous potential for growth both regionally and nationally. We're excited to work with Greg and his team to take Clown Shoes even further. Clown Shoes is expected to brew about 17,000 barrels of beer, and they're available in 28 states. Harpoon will take them over and try to make that even bigger. So what I love about this is that Clown Shoes is one of those places that's awesome because it's a little weird.
Oh, yeah.
And Harpoon, they are such beer fans.
Yeah.
There's no way they're going to mess that up, and I love that.
I think it's,
You know?
that sounds like it'll be wonderful. To
It's not like being bought by the mega corporation. It's different. It's being
Clown
bought by
Shoes is like the ridiculous fun,
just like
maybe
their,
stepbrother of Dogfish Head.
yes,
Dogfish
just
Head
like their name implies.
is
yes.
so extreme in
Right.
everything that they do and wonderful. I love so many of their beers. Clown Shoes is just ridiculous. Like they just try anything.
They will, and some of the stuff they try to go, double chocolate sombrero jalapeno stout. What?
Yeah,
You know?
I mean some
Yeah.
of it actually tastes weird too.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but it's always an adventure, and that's one of the things that's so fun about Clown Shoes is they come out with so many different things, and it's always an adventure.
And I really like their spirit of we'll try anything, which is, you're not going to bat 1,000 when you do that.
Yeah, I mean those guys are like, hey, that's an idea. Put it in a bottle. Let's go. Let's try it.
Let's try it. Let's see if people
And
like it.
There's a fearlessness to that, like the fearless nature of that is also very attractive.
Stone has always been that way with IPAs,
Right,
But
right.
Clown Shoes does it with all kinds of different variations of beer. Another brewery that I've always thought of as being fearless, even though they may not try as many different things, is Rogue.
Yeah.
Rogue, their Dead Guy Ale. That's one of those. I mean, we should really think about doing a show that's based totally around like craft beer classics, because Rogue
Yeah.
Dead Guy Ale would be one of those craft beer classics.
Their mocha porter is unbelievable.
We've had Dead Guy Ale on the
Yeah.
show before, and of course both of us had it previously.
I
kind
mentioned
of renewed our love for it, you
right,
know?
and I mentioned it during the break. Is you can actually buy Dead Guy Ale in a half-gallon jug.
Oh, that's so
which
awesome!
and it tastes delicious. It's so good.
Yeah, honey, I'm just gonna have one
I'm
beer.
just having one beer, babe. That's a wonderful thing, right? Speaking of Rogue,
Yeah, speaking of Rogue and speaking of big bombers,
the Rogue Chocolate Stout.
now I landed this a little while back, and I immediately thought of you because I just thought this just seems like a beer that Ian's going to love.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this.
Well,
Actually,
let's see if I'm right here.
let's see.
Open that bad boy up and let's do
You're an
some sampling.
enabler, you know.
Yes. So I've been told. So I've been told. Still to come, by the way, what to do if the cork falls in your whiskey. I promise you we will get to that on this show here.
I wonder if Benchmade guarantees their knives even after I open
Oh,
tons
your
of
knife
beers with
company.
it.
Yeah. Well, now are you using an opener, or are you using
No,
it
I
in
just use
the
the end of my knife.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Not the blade part,
It
the
works.
handle.
It works, though.
It works very well. Is it just us drinking right now?
I don't know. Adam, are you up for some of this? A little bit, he says. So.
He says you're not going to be lonely.
Yes.
Not going to be lonesome tonight with your only beers. I'll
Well,
pour you.
I will
short
say
one.
this doesn't smell as chocolatey as I was expecting, but I haven't tasted it yet. The smell is just kind of a basic porter smell. At least that's
Yeah,
what I'm
actually,
getting.
really. I mean, there's a little chocolate, but it's
Yep. All right, let's see what we got
not
here.
totally overpowering. It's really nice smelling, though.
Chocolate's in the
overall.
taste, though. Oh boy, is it ever!
It's
in the-
not as thick as I would generally, not as viscous as I would generally.
So you know when you get a piece of chocolate that somebody has cut off of a big block of chocolate, and it's very kind of like chalky and has that
Bitter
just
chocolate.
pure bitter chocolate taste to it. That's what this reminds
Yeah.
me of on the finish.
Because even though it's a chocolate stout, it's not super sweet.
And I was actually kind of expecting that. This is that bitter, almost like taking a spoon and putting it in the Hershey's cocoa canister.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
got that bitter chocolate
With
vibe
just
to it.
enough sugar to make it palatable.
Did you just go back to the rum?
I did. I wanted to see how it mixed, and I don't think it's a great pairing. They're
Yeah?
good by themselves, but
Some stuff mixes better than
yeah,
others.
those two. I thought, as not sweet as the chocolate stout was, I thought that maybe the sweetness from the rum would be a nice flavor with it. But they're not really meshing.
Speaking of things that might or might not combine, and we'll come back to this beer in a second. Some are thinking that the next IPA, and by that they mean the next sort of like big sensation in
Right.
beer, could be cannabis-infused beer.
Huh.
Marijuana and beer have always had a connection. Hop plants and cannabis are members of the same genus. They have a closely related molecular structure. But those ties are slowly becoming more formal as some of the breweries in the states where marijuana is legal are beginning to experiment with cannabis-infused beers.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. There was
Now, are they
there was
brewing?
a Lagunitas called Supercritical, which I believe had some cannabis. Now, I will say this. It didn't include any of the stuff that has the THC in it. The
Okay, so that
Lagunitas one
answers the
didn't.
question.
Right.
Are they brewing it for flavor, or are they brewing it for effect?
Well, I think perhaps both is what the
That's the
article
end
is
goal
getting
in some
into.
of these, yeah.
Yeah, and in some cases it's more about the flavor, but in some cases it could be about having the extra intoxicant effect of the weed. But it's really interesting. You would almost expect Wicked Weed to be the guys that that would plow this ground, but now that they're owned by Anheuser-Busch, probably not.
They're probably
as,
not
as
touching that
likely.
one.
Yeah. So that'll be an interesting trend to watch. Should that become a thing?
Yeah.
Hey, look, they did it for brownies. Why can't they do it for beer?
That's right. And gummies. Have you
And
seen
gummies.
that?
Oh, my
Gummies.
God. Yeah, gummies are like the rage in Los Angeles. You go to the dispensary and say,
Gummies.
I'm not feeling good because I have some gummies, please.
Ow, my eye. I need some gummies.
Let's get back to this chocolate stout. Give me your read on this. This is Rogue. I was expecting a little more like hit you over the head from Rogue just because I'm thinking of Dead Guy Ale. But this is a very subtle drink.
Well, what's interesting about this is just the mouthfeel of this is a lot thinner than what you'd expect in a stout. The flavor profile is there. It's
It
not
tastes
lacking.
like chocolate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not lacking in the flavor profile. So it's interesting because it feels like a lighter drink.
I'm getting more chocolate almost on the finish than
Right.
on the drink itself.
But there's also a hoppy snap kind of bitterness to the finish that like that bitter chocolate shaving you talked about that leaves that kind of bittersweetness. Not really that sweet, but bittersweetness.
but in
kind
such
of
a
the
pleasant
finish.
way,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Will you check the bottle for the ABV on this? I'm not sure. It
will.
doesn't feel like it's very high, but I could certainly be wrong.
5%. 5.8%. My old eyes.
That's not a lot for
It's not that big, no.
a porter. Yeah,
I don't even
or
think
it's
of
a
beers.
stout. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for stout, and I don't even really consider a beer to be that big when it comes to ABV until you hit 7%. Really,
Right.
6%'s getting bigger, but you know.
What you're saying is this is nice and all, but you wouldn't have brought it. The ABV's too low. Am I right?
it's just fine. I like it. It's drinkable. This will not go to waste today. Let me
No,
put it that
it
way.
definitely will not. And that sort of lingering finish of the sort of baking chocolate, for lack of a better way to
Yeah.
describe it, man, that's good.
It is good.
That's
It's
just
good.
very
and,
flavorful.
And I would highly recommend anyone that thinks this sounds delicious should try the Rogue Mocha Porter.
Oh yes.
And holy cow, that one is outstanding.
well,
too.
again, we've had nothing but good beers from this company.
Rogue.
They have not led us astray just yet. All right, coming up on the next segment. No
make a whiskey,
label,
too.
no label from Katy, Texas, right up the road from where we are, has a thing they do called off-label, where they release these sort of specialty beers
Right.
from time to time. Their latest off-label is the Nightmare on First Street Imperial Pumpkin Ale, and we have that coming up in the next segment. Plus, what to do if the cork falls in your whiskey? All coming up.
I need to know.
Smokin and Toastin, craft beer, hand-rolled cigars, and fine premium spirits.
All right.
It's good. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting that more like almost chocolate milkshake sort of vibe, you know?
Yeah, that's what it doesn't have a stout mouthfeel. It has a stout flavor profile, but it doesn't have that big mouthfeel. Ooh, you know, St. Arnold's Winter Stout will be out soon. Christmas Ale is out.
Christmas Ale is out. I saw
It's
it.
so good.
Oh.
I'm already about
I'm
a 12
just-
pack into it.
I'm just such a fan of the Sailing Santa. I'm already looking for that. That beer.
Christmas Ale's so good.
And I haven't seen the new Anchor Christmas Ale yet, but I'm watching for that
Yeah,
too.
as soon as that's out, I'll generate
That was my favorite Christmas beer from last year was the Anchor. But see, it'll be different this year. So
Are we going to do a Christmas beer lineup this
I
year
think
again?
We should, yeah. Once we
I'll
get
see why
close
not.
to the holidays, yeah. Once we get
That'd
close
be
to
fun.
Christmas. so-
We had fun with it last time. When do you want to schedule that late beer? You want to do that? When?
It's going to have to be December
Okay.
because we're crazy full in November.
I'll start collecting some beers for it. Anyone out there has a late beer that they recommend, feel free to send it to us.
I've got Yingling Light, which I'm really excited about.
Yingling Light.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yingling Light. I got Lone Star Light, and there's several interesting things like Budweiser has Budweiser Platinum, which
Seen
is
that.
more, and then they have Budweiser Platinum Light.
Okay.
So like, there's all kinds of interesting.
You know what?
Beer things.
So I saw, because I've been watching TV about 17 times more than I ever do because of the
Because
World
watching the
Series.
baseball, yeah.
But I
So
saw
you,
that
I know what you're going to tell me. The
Budweiser
Budweiser
has
premium thing, yeah.
the
The prohibition. Yes. So I looked for that.
I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I looked for that because I wanted to do it on the show. But
Yeah, I wanna see what they
I
do,
did not
you know?
find it at Kroger last weekend, so I'll look for it again this week.
I'm
Yeah,
just
if
interested.
you see it, grab it. Let's definitely
What if it's
try it
awesome?
on the show. I know. See, wouldn't that
What
give
if
us
it's not? I don't know.
Wouldn't that give us an interesting thing to talk about?
Right. I mean,
But it's supposed to be an amber lager, and it's supposed to be a little hoppy. And you're thinking Budweiser, really?
with flavor?
Yeah, with flavor. But who knows?
You never know.
At least they're not going dilly and giving everybody the finger.
I
Have you seen
saw,
that
yeah,
yet?
I saw that. It really is like, come on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That was my thing. Like really, and the guy that they have do the honeymead wine is kind of that, like, more effeminate, like nerdy guy. It's like, come on,
So don't go think for yourself. Don't try anything different.
right?
That's what they're saying.
Stay with Bud Light or endure the pit of misery, dilly.
You know the craziest thing? I was out watching the Gassers game at a bar, and people people were screaming, "Dilly, dilly."
Oh yeah, they've definitely
Oh my God, I'm just like,
they've
"Oh."
definitely found a thing. But see, Budweiser though is famous for finding a thing and then walking away from it too soon. They had one of the, and there's been advertising courses actually taught on this. They had one of the most Budweiser and Bud Light in particular have had so many like social buzz type things before we even knew what that was. Like they were the guys that did the what was the one where the guys would ring the God, what was that? I can't remember it now.
It was
like,
what's up?
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
up?
That's what I'm talking about. What's up? Yeah. And they just abandoned it.
That was funny.
It was hilarious. And they had one that I thought was one of the best of all time. It was where the guy would go stand like the getting off the airplane, the guy with the sign for the car or whatever, and he'd be holding the 6-pack of Bud Light, and the sign would say Galakowitz or whatever, and the guy would come off the plane and he'd go, "Mr. Galakowitz?" And the guy would go, "Yes, I am," because he saw the Bud Light. And that was a great campaign. They abandoned it after 2 months. I don't get it.
Madness.
But dilly dilly is you're right. It's becoming a bit of a buzzword, and I hate it. Somebody actually I saw sent me a picture of like Altuve, like with his thumbs up, and it said dilly dilly on it. So, yeah.
Dilly dilly to me just feels like, don't think for yourself. Don't try anything new.
Yeah, don't try anything new. Just be a sheep. Follow the herd. Dilly dilly.
Dilly dilly.
Bastards. Okay.
Ready to roll?
Is this thing on?
Let's start fifth.
We are about to have our final beer. Let me grab it.
Final beer. That has such a note of finality.
Yes, I don't like the words final beer.
All right, man, we go.
X-Men, the final beer.
Although, if you're going to have the final beer, it might as well be called Nightmare on First Street.
Yeah, and that by the way has our highest ABV. So
And the good thing about this is I can upload once I put all these.
Facebook Live, we love you. Here we go.
I'm sending these videos to Benchmade, see if they'll sponsor me for
Good.
opening beers with my Benchmade knife, which is a nice knife. I like my Benchmade.
Open up that session, and that 7-second ID marker will be at the end,
Gotcha.
and that's kind of your target mark.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, guys, we'll have fun. Like I
Thank you, sir.
told that.
Have a good one, Bobby.
See you later.
Always good to see you.
Thanks for stopping by.
All right. Ready to roll when y'all.
Let's do it. In the immortal words of Tom York.
On the beach in Hawaii.
Welcome back, my good friends. This is Smokin Toastin. It's the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant, which, by the way, I'm getting really hungry. We got to plan another B&B trip because not only is the food, the steaks, the seafood, and all that so good, and the bar is amazing, but bacon. I'm craving that bacon right now.
The bacon's insidious.
Just gotta
like once
tell
you
you.
have it,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you
You
can't
got to
stop.
have it
Yeah, you
again.
gotta
I know.
have it, yes.
It's at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, opening soon in Fort Worth, Texas, and the shops at Clear Fork. Coming up in this segment, what to do if the cork falls in your whiskey. But first, let's talk about No Label, the independent brewery in Katy, Texas, and their off-label specialty beers. First of all, No Label, and we have not talked about them, I think, a lot on the show, but they make some damn fine beer. I'm
They
a
do.
particular fan of their Pale Horse, which is a
Yeah.
pale ale that they
That's a
make,
very
which is
good one.
absolutely delicious. And I think they make a brown ale that I'm a fan of, too.
They make the don't they have the Black Widow as well, which
I
is a
think
wit
that's
beer,
right.
but a
Yep.
dark wit beer. Which
And they
is
have,
really
I
interesting.
believe their brown is the Ridgeback.
Right, the Ridgeback
Yeah.
is that brown or
Or is that a
amber?
red-
That's,
is that a-
that's the red ale.
Yeah, see, I'm
There's
getting my
also
beers confused.
there's also they make a bunch of good ones, but
They
there's
do,
also
yeah.
do they do the No, it's Buffalo Bayou. I'm thinking something
Well,
else.
these guys do some really interesting specialty beers from time to time. And this one, Halloween, as we do the show, Halloween was just a couple of days ago. So I don't feel like it's too late to do Nightmare on First Street, which, by the way, the reason that is the title of the beer is because the brewery is on First Street in Katy. So that's where the First Street comes from. It's Nightmare on First Street. This is their Imperial Pumpkin Ale. I've had pumpkin ales, Ian, but I don't know that I've ever had an Imperial.
Now look at
Pumpkin
this one
ale.
though, compared to even that Rogue. Look how
Woo!
thick this one is. The
Take your first whiff of that,
the
too.
viscosity of this
Uh-huh.
is this is a much thicker liquid.
Take your first whiff of that, and
That
you'll
is
get
pumpkin and spice.
Yes, it is. It's a strong aroma,
It is.
not in a bad way, but it is definitely not a lighter beer. You can tell,
This is the spicier side of pumpkin. They actually went.
which I actually like, by the way.
They actually went more to the pumpkin spice than the pumpkin itself,
I will say
which makes it really interesting.
this makes me immediately think of fall,
Yes,
like this flavor. You know,
this has a huge mouthfeel to it. This is almost like gravy. Look at this. I mean, in a good way, of course.
yes. I think gravy would be a good title for a beer.
Gravy.
Gravy Imperial IPA. No, this is. I gotta say, I'm finding this really good. I like it. I wasn't sure what I would think of this because pumpkin ale, it's kind of like everybody's knocking on pumpkin spice everything, and that being the most overdone, flavor preparation style of this time of the year. And I get it, but this is still a really fine beer.
It leaves a tanginess, like in the aftertaste, that's really fun too.
Help me with the ABV on this one.
Oh,
I think
I'll
it's
help you.
more so than the. I think it's a higher ABV than the chocolate stout.
doesn't say.
Hmm.
They're trying to hide it from us. Probably not. I'll look it up while you're.
It's actually quite good.
I-
I'm going to say I'm a fan.
I agree. It's a very interesting. Like out of all the pumpkin beers, we did our pumpkin beer thing last year where we had a bunch of them. Some of them were good, some of them not so much.
Yes.
This one would have been a nice one to have on there, just because it's the spice profile on this is way big.
You can tell that it's a beer, but the flavors that you get mostly are the pumpkin and spice flavors, not so much a beer flavor. Like I'm not pulling a hoppy or a malty flavor out of this necessarily. Would you agree with that?
Right. It's not real malty at all.
Yeah.
The hops give it that twanginess on the end. That's that bittering hops on the end. But it doesn't come across as a hoppy beer either.
Right. It definitely has a vibe all its own. That's really fascinating. All right, Ian, what to do if the cork falls in your whiskey? And some of this is taken from people who've had experience with this. I'm more likely to break a cork in a bottle of wine, by the way, than I am in a bottle of whiskey, because sometimes you get into there with the corkscrew and it just doesn't work out, and now you've got half a cork stuck in your wine bottle, and you're trying to get it out, and of course it's an experiment. But it can happen with whiskey too, and breaking a cork into your wine relatively familiar, but like
Quick pause.
yes.
9.2%.
Wow, that's more than I would have guessed.
Yeah.
That you're talking about on the off-label.
On the off-label,
pumpkin,
9.2.
pumpkin,
Yeah, and it doesn't
Imperial.
taste like that at all. Like it doesn't taste like a 9 point something. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Wow.
Please carry on.
Like all beverage professionals and functioning alcoholics, we've explored the causes and best practice solutions for what to do when the wine cork breaks off into your wine. But what if you pull off the cap of a beloved whiskey only to find yourself with a handful of wood or plastic topper and the cork remains firmly wedged in the neck of the bottle? If you, like us, adore brown spirits and find that your dexterity decreases with consumption, this could be a very real problem. So,
That doesn't happen when I'm playing darts.
no, of course not. When a cork separates from the cap and is still stuck in the mouth of the bottle, carefully use a corkscrew
Yep.
to remove the cork, just
Have
like a
done that.
bottle of wine. This is the advice of Doug Craigle, Bullett's North American Whiskey Director, or North American Whiskey Educator, actually. He says if the cork falls into the bottle, or if you accidentally push it in while attempting to, get the corkscrew in place, he says take another. And this is the advice I really needed, because I would have known to try a corkscrew, but this is what he says to do: take another empty bottle or jug, and with a sieve, pour the liquid into the empty vessel. This is what Mahesh Patel, the Universal Whiskey Experience founder, suggests. Craig will also suggest a mesh strainer or a cheesecloth.
Yeah.
He says, then you simply clean your original container, remove all the traces of the cork, and pour the liquid back into the original bottle. Hopefully the whiskey was worthy of being stored in your home bar decanter, he says, and hopefully you kept the stopper. But alternatively, they suggest you could use another cork from, say, a wine bottle to close the bottle of whiskey now that your cork is missing.
If you go to any brewery supply or wine supply, you can just buy the corks too.
Can you really? I didn't realize that. So you can go in and
you
just
can
buy wine corks.
You can buy the little cork toppers that come on your whiskey bottles. They're the tops of those bottles are pretty close to universal. Because I actually at one point in time picked up a couple extra cork tops for bottles that the cork broke or something like that.
Now I'll tell you what I use a lot, and I'm not sure exactly what they're called, but I got some that have some really cool Day of the Dead heads on top of them.
Right.
And then they've got these little, it's got a little rubber thing and then a little piece that goes down into the bottle. And I use this like when I open a bottle of champagne
like
or
wine.
sparkling wine.
Right.
Gotcha. And I haven't drunk the whole thing. You use it for like a white wine or something else too. I'll stop it with that, put it back in the refrigerator, and then when I go back, say with sparkling wine, when I go back to open that bottle up again and pour more, whether it's 20 minutes later or several hours later, when you pull the top off, you can feel it go, like there's a release of the gases, so it's keeping the gases in there to keep the wine sparkling. Now, obviously, it won't work if you're going to leave it for a day or more.
Right.
But
Well,
if you're going to leave that for
you've got
several hours,
oxygen
you're all right.
contamination at
Yes,
that point anyway.
Exactly.
You mentioned like if you're trying, like if you have the wine and it breaks off or whatever, the other thing that I've found with a wine bottle is you're going to have to empty the bottle, but if you don't have a corkscrew, just take a pen or something and shove that cork right down inside.
Just go ahead and drop it into the wine.
Drop it right
and
inside.
And then do your
you pour
replacement,
your wine.
right? Yeah.
Usually you don't get to the point where you put it back into the wine bottle.
Right. Because you drink it.
Because you drink it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and if you've got a really nice decanter of some sort, that'll work. But, of course, for spirits now, you may be less likely to be polishing that bottle off that evening. Yes. So, yeah, with a bottle of wine, it can be a little bit easier. But I hadn't really thought about that. And I haven't had the problem of I've certainly had it with wine, but I've not had the problem with the cork falling into a bottle of whiskey.
I've had a few whiskey bottles that's happened. At one point in time, I remember pulling the top on my whiskey bottle and it just crumbled. Well, and even when I tried to get it out, like the whole cork just crumbled in.
So did you do that? Did you pour it off through a strainer and then pour it back in?
I did. I actually poured it through. Since I do guitar work, I have these little paint strainers.
Yeah. So that worked, huh?
Yeah, it worked just fine.
Well, I have a really nice strainer that I use for juicing lemons.
Oh yeah.
So it's like one of those big, metal strainers, but it's the size of a glass top, basically.
Right.
And so that would be a good thing to pour through. But yeah, that's really the big thing. It's like as long as you can get the particles of cork out of the whiskey so that they're not contaminating the whiskey, then you can pour it back and do whatever you want to do. Where do you stand on like the glass decanter? Like you see it a lot in like soap operas and stuff where they stop by someone's home and have a drink and they go and they pop the top on the decanter and pour the whiskey or whatever.
I actually have
out
a
of
couple
the decanter.
decanters.
Do you?
They're pretty.
Do you like that for storing brown spirits though?
I think if you're going to drink it on a regular basis, otherwise you want to seal it pretty well because all the decanters I've seen don't seal real well.
Right.
They usually have like a nice little glass top or something like that, but they're not like.
I always thought they were more decorative than useful.
And
really.
it is a pretty way to do it if you have a nice little set and everything like that.
Well.
My biggest problem is when you have quite a few whiskeys, sometimes you'll forget what's in the decanter.
Yes.
If you don't label it.
What did I pour in here? Did I pour the Boone's Farm in here?
So
or
maybe
is this the
maybe you put a little label on the bottom or something with a piece of tape.
Well, this has certainly been a fun show. Thank you, Ian, for your knowledge and wisdom on all of this stuff, and we've certainly enjoyed the beers. We are back next week with another episode of the show. Maybe. Actually, if we don't come back next week, don't panic. It just means we took the week off, and we'll be back the following week. I don't know what the plan is for next week. So, but we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here, and we're going to be in Las Vegas coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll be doing multiple shows from Las Vegas for the Big Smoke, and we're very excited about that. Word is,
what are you talking about?
Rocky and Nish Patel will be on the show, so we're very excited.
Oh,
about that.
I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty awesome. Well, it's been a great week. Thank you guys so much for listening to and enjoying the show. We did run out of time for sampling the Mumford & Sons IPA. We'll have to try that next time. But until we meet again, my friends, have a wonderful week. Congratulations, Astros, and cheers.
Cheers. That is definitely one of the better pumpkin beers.
That's really good, isn't it? A very pleasant surprise. I often expect with the pumpkin, I expect that there's a certain aftertaste. Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't quite know how to describe it. Where you enjoy it, and then the finish kind of ruins it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, a lot of pumpkin beers like that.
And this does not have that. In fact, you get the pumpkin and spice more on the aftertaste than you do on the finish than you do when you first drink it. So good. Facebook Live. Thank you. You rock.
Are we still live?
Yes, but you can cut off. Unless you got something to say.
No, we're good. Bye, Facebook.